Friday night date night with my 34-year-old female BF, 36-year-old male, let's call him Lee, last night. We walked to a local bar and had a couple of drinks. He had a few more drinks than me. I was sober and he was tipsy, but didn't seem super drunk. We were having a good time playing board games and sharing some pizza. Before we left to go home, he wanted to have a smoke, so we went upstairs to the smoker's balcony. He bummed a cigarette and started chatting with a group, 2 guys and 1 drunk girl who was approximately 32 years old. Let's call her Bree. I was kind of on the periphery, but still standing right next to them. I don't smoke. Somewhere along the way, Lee and Bree realized they have the same birthday, 4 years apart, and seem to bond over this. She hugs him and they are both a bit overexcited by this discovery. At some point, they decide it would be fun to get drinks sometime because of the birthday thing. Not sure. And he gets her phone number. Then he prank calls her so that she has his number. What the heck? She hugs him a bunch more times, drunkenly, and even ends up kissing him on the lips. I didn't see the kiss, but he told me later on. They were already too close for my comfort, hugging at least 6 to 8 times in the space of 10 minutes. They finally leave, and so do we. I'm pretty upset while we walk 20 minutes home. Lee does this thing when he knows he might be in trouble. He acts like a child. So he was running around the street at 1 a.m. trying to be funny, and I wasn't buying it. When we got to his house, I sat down for 5 minutes while he brushed his teeth, and then I told him I was going to catch an Uber home. I told him I wasn't feeling great and I wanted to go home. He was surprised, but let me go. I didn't want to get into it right then and there because he'd been drinking, and I was sober, and there's no point in fighting when one person is drunk. So I told him I'd talk to him tomorrow. In the Uber home, I told him I didn't feel great about how he had behaved with the girl, because he kept asking what was wrong, and that my feelings were hurt. Honestly, I'm not upset about the drunk girl. I'm upset that he couldn't get himself out of the situation with the drunk girl, and that he got her number and gave her his number. What the heck for? When I asked him about it, he said he didn't want to be rude or be the fun police and unalive the vibe by telling her to back off. This made me more upset that he would rather my feelings get hurt than some random girl he has never met before. I told him he had his priorities all wrong. Makes me wonder what would have happened if I wasn't there. Would it have gone further? My boyfriend is a massive people pleaser and wants to be liked, so I can see this influencing his behavior. But you can be nice to people without behaving like you're picking up some drunk girl in front of your girlfriend. What should I do? What would you do? I've explained my side to him. He thinks I'm overreacting. My feelings are hurt and I think I deserve to be treated with more respect. Advice, please? Thanks. Thank you to everyone for your comments and support. It definitely helped me to consider multiple perspectives I hadn't thought of. One of my close friends said to me today, regardless of what happened on Friday, is this someone you can see yourself with long term? The answer was a definitive no. So I decided to break up with him. This was the message that I sent him. I think it sums up all the things I was feeling and some things that you all pointed out. Lee, I've reflected on our relationship over the last few days, and I have reached some conclusions and a final decision. I deserve to be treated better than you treated me. On Friday night, I was humiliated and disrespected during our date because you didn't want to unalive the vibe or be the fun police towards complete strangers. Your priorities are completely in the wrong order. I want to be with someone who would put me and my feelings first, or at least before random strangers. I believe this is a minimum requirement for a successful relationship. I am responsible if I accept the way you have treated me. If I accept it, it will only happen again. I am not okay with this. I believe you have serious issues with being a people pleaser, and I have zero interest waiting around until one day I hear, I only slept with her because I didn't want to hurt her feelings. Or I did something else hurtful or stupid because I didn't want to unalive the fun vibe we were having. Your lack of being able to set appropriate boundaries makes me feel unsafe because my heart will get broken. No thanks. The way you behave like a child when you feel like you are in trouble is extremely manipulative, and designed to deflect your responsibility and accountability for your actions. You are very good at gaslighting me. I refuse to accept being gaslit. The only thing I did wrong on Friday was not walking out of the bar and taking an Uber home straight away. I don't think you are a bad person. I just don't think you are the kind of person I want to be in a long-term relationship with. Our values for a committed relationship are simply not compatible. I don't want to try to change you. You are old enough to make your own decisions. I think we should both find partners that fit what we are looking for. It's sad this relationship hasn't worked out, but I hold no bad feelings towards you and only wish you the best on this journey called life. I'm sure we will run into each other, and I hope we can be civil and respectful towards each other in the future. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. He sounds extremely childish for a 36-year-old. Please think hard about how his behavior has been throughout your relationship. At his age, he is done growing, so what you see is what you get. He won't change, so would you be happy to live with him forever, knowing how he is? Does the thought excite you or horrify you? Comment 2. I'd make it clear to him that it's hard to trust him to be respectful of the relationship if he cares more about hurting a stranger's feelings and killing the fun than making it clear you're in a relationship. And if you can't trust someone in a long-term relationship, it's not going to end well. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a wild couple of days since my last post, and I've got some major updates for you. After I sent that breakup text to Lee, things took a turn I didn't expect. First off, Lee didn't take the breakup well. He showed up at my place the next morning, unannounced, with this desperate look in his eyes. He's never been the type to show up like that. He's always respected my space. But there he was, standing at my door begging for a chance to talk. I was hesitant, but I let him in because I figured we needed some closure. He started off by apologizing, saying he realized how much he messed up. He admitted that he's always had a hard time saying no to people, which I already knew. He's the guy who can't turn down a friend asking for a favor, even if it means he's stretched too thin. It's one of the things that drew me to him, his generosity, but it's also been a source of tension. Lee confessed that he's been struggling with this need to be liked for years. It went back to his high school days when he was the class clown, always doing things to get a laugh or a pat on the back. He told me about a time he almost got suspended for a prank just because he wanted the popular kids to think he was cool. I never knew about this side of him, and hearing him open up like that was both surprising and heartbreaking. But here's the juicy compromise that came out of our conversation. Lee proposed that he would start seeing a therapist to work on his people-pleasing tendencies and his inability to set boundaries. He was willing to do whatever it took to prove that he could change. He didn't want to lose me over something he believed he could fix. I was torn. Part of me felt like it was too little, too late. But another part of me remembered all the good times we'd had, the way he'd always been there for me when I needed him. It's not like he was a bad guy. He just made a really stupid mistake. So, I made a decision. I told him I'd consider giving him another chance, but only if he stuck to his word about therapy and showed real, consistent effort to change. And I needed space to think and to see if he was serious. We agreed to a trial period where we'd still be broken up, but he'd keep me updated on his progress. The next few days were a roller coaster. I saw Lee post on social media about his first therapy session, which he never would have done before. He's always been private about his struggles. Then, 2 days later, he sent me a long email detailing what he talked about in therapy and how he was starting to understand the root of his issues. But the real jaw-dropping moment came when Bree, the drunk girl from the bar, showed up at my work. I couldn't believe it. She apologized for her behavior that night, saying she was going through a rough breakup and didn't realize Lee was with me. She even admitted that she was embarrassed about how she acted and that she'd been drinking to cope with her own issues. I was floored. I never expected her to come forward and apologize, especially to me. It was a small comfort, but it showed me that maybe Lee wasn't the only one at fault that night. He laughed off my fears, so I exposed his toxic lies. He'll regret playing the victim when he sees the surprise I left behind. Background context. My boyfriend suffers from depression. He has been in therapy and on medication for more than a year now. I have generalized anxiety. I used to take his mood changes and his poker faces personally. It affected me when he got cold out of nowhere, but now I am in therapy myself and have learned that I cannot control those things. I should just be there for him and listen to him because I cannot solve his issues. Only he can. I have felt a little bit more peaceful after realizing that. He also has anger issues and a history of throwing things, never at me, but they don't happen anymore. Now, today something happened that has never happened before. I suggested that we go to a co-working space since we both work from home, take our work stuff there, have lunch together outside to break the routine, and spend time together. He had a bad day at his job, so he was grumpy the entire time. I ignored it because this happens very often. Hours later, he tells me that his computer is running out of battery and that we need to go back home and stay there. I agreed. I was already in a meeting, so I had to pack my stuff and switch to Zoom on my phone. I had another meeting at 3, in which I had to present some designs. He started driving home. Sometimes he gets really annoyed when he drives, but today was different. He got insanely angry because a car passed him in the lane, and out of anger, my boyfriend did not stop. He was very close to the other car, and we almost crashed. Nervously, I told him, "Baby, you need to be more careful, please." He started screaming at me, saying it wasn't his fault and that if I don't like the way he drives, I should just take a damn taxi. All of this happened while I was in my Zoom meeting. Thankfully, mute exists. He then stopped the car and I told him, "We need to go. I have my meeting at 3. It was 2:53. He started screaming, "I hate my freaking life. I want to die. I'm going to unalive myself. I despise myself. I will unalive myself." I won't lie to you, this was one of the scariest moments in my relationship. I literally covered my ears because he was screaming so loudly and I was crying, telling him to please stop, please don't do this. He didn't stop, so I told him I was getting out of the car. He told me, "Leave, I'm going to unalive myself," and I left. I couldn't take it anymore. I was shaking. I had to walk to my mom's house with my bag and cancel my work appointment. I had to say I had a major issue at home. The thing is, I don't know if I can handle my boyfriend anymore. Have any of you dealt with a situation like this before? I don't know what to do. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. This is really toxic and quite frankly, scary. Remember, mental health may provide some reasoning behind actions, but is not an excuse for them. Personally, I would take a step away from the relationship, maybe a break or a full breakup. He needs to focus more on his mental well-being before he's suitable to be in a relationship. He needs to dedicate more time towards therapy and consider a higher dose of medication. As he might be a danger to himself, I would contact his close friends and family right before the breakup. Make sure they are available to go to him immediately so he has a support system to lean on. Comment 2. 1. On its own, him yelling he wants to die is enough to get him committed. 2. His driving officially made him a danger to himself and others. He needs to be committed. 3. This has crossed over from mental health problem to abuse. The relationship is now hurtful. He has endangered your life, endangered your livelihood. You can't make him get help, even if you successfully put him on a psych hold, but he is now making his mental health your problem. It's time to remove yourself from the equation, or at least limit his ability to interfere. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been 3 months since I last posted about the terrifying incident with my boyfriend. And let me tell you, things have taken some rough turns. I've been hesitant to update because every time I think things are settling down, another curveball gets thrown my way. So, after that day when my boyfriend threatened to take his own life, I was a wreck. I stayed at my mom's place for a few days, trying to gather my thoughts. I was scared for him, but also for myself. I've been in therapy for my anxiety, and this situation was really testing my limits. I remember how he used to throw things when he was angry, and even though he hadn't done that in a long time, I couldn't shake the fear that it might happen again. I decided to reach out to his therapist, with his permission, of course. I needed to understand if these outbursts were something I should expect more of, or if they were a sign of his condition worsening. His therapist couldn't share much, but she assured me that they were working on new strategies to manage his anger and depression. Fast forward a couple of weeks, and things seemed to be improving. He was more communicative, and we even had a few good days where we laughed and enjoyed each other's company like old times. But then, out of nowhere, he lost his job. It was a huge blow to him, and he spiraled quickly. I tried to be supportive, reminding him of the progress he'd made, but it was like talking to a brick wall. One evening, I came home to find him sitting in the dark, just staring at the wall. He didn't respond when I spoke to him, and I could feel my own panic rising. I remembered the breathing exercises my therapist taught me and tried to stay calm. Eventually, he broke the silence with a bomb. He had been hiding debt from me. A lot of it. Credit cards maxed out, overdue bills, the works. He had been trying to handle it on his own, but losing his job made it impossible. I was floored. We had always been open about our finances, or so I thought. The betrayal stung, and it was a lot to process. I felt like I didn't even know him. But I also knew that his mental health was a factor, and I had to separate the illness from the person I loved. We started to work through the financial mess together, setting up payment plans and cutting back on expenses. It was stressful, and it took a toll on both of us. There were nights when we'd just sit in silence, the weight of our situation hanging heavy in the air. Then, about a month ago, I discovered something that shook me to my core. I found messages on his phone from a coworker. Not just any messages, but flirty ones, full of inside jokes and winky faces. My heart sank. I confronted him, and he admitted that he had developed feelings for her, but swore nothing physical had happened. I didn't know what to believe. Here I was, trying to hold us together, and he was emotionally entangled with someone else. It was a slap in the face, a betrayal that cut deeper than the debt. I felt like I was the only one fighting for our relationship. We had a huge argument, the kind where everything that's been bottled up comes pouring out. He accused me of not understanding his depression, of making it all about me. I shot back that I was tired of walking on eggshells, of being the only stable one in this relationship. It was ugly, and it left us both drained. We agreed to take a break, to give each other space to think. I went back to my mom's, and he stayed at the apartment, wallowing in his guilt and confusion. I've been using this time to really reflect on what I want and need. My therapy sessions have been intense, digging into why I've been holding on so tightly to a relationship that's been giving me more pain than joy lately. Just last week, I got a call from him. He was crying, apologizing for everything, the debt, the coworker, the way he's been treating me. He said he realized how much he's been leaning on me and how unfair it's been. He promised to make changes, to get his act together. I want to believe him, I really do, but I'm also scared of getting hurt again. It's like I'm at a crossroads and I don't know which path to take. Do I give him another chance, or do I walk away from the man I love but who's also caused me so much pain? Fiancé's lipstick lies didn't fool me, so I canceled our wedding. His parents found out and couldn't stop snickering as his world crumbled. I am getting married in a matter of weeks. The remaining balance for the wedding is due to be paid tomorrow. My partner, 40-year-old male, and I, 40-year-old female, have been together for 6 years, and I have never suspected he has cheated. Last Saturday, he had his work Christmas night out. My partner came home after 6 hours of heavy drinking and fell asleep in the spare room. Late afternoon the following day, I could see a large red lipstick stain above his top lip, all smudged. He told me he had kissed 3 of his female colleagues goodbye on the lips and regretted it. He described one of the kisses between him and his female colleague, who is gay, as an extended peck goodbye. He assured me she had the bright red lipstick on. The next day, I asked to look at his phone. I have never asked to do this. I went straight to his photos and saw that the colleague in question had unclothed lip gloss on, but there was a 19-year-old female colleague wearing thick, dark red lipstick. He didn't have any explanation. He is more than double her age and is her manager. Am I crazy that it's the lying about what colleague was wearing the lipstick that hurts? It must have been one hell of a peck to have remained on his lips for that many hours, even after sleeping. I feel the universe is telling me something. If that colleague didn't have red lipstick on, I would never have known. Should I cancel, postpone the wedding? Any advice appreciated. Apologies for this rambling mess of a post. Update. Thank you to each and every one of you that replied. I know the answer to my issues doesn't lie in Reddit. However, getting impartial advice from outside eyes is what I needed. So we have talked things through the past 2 evenings. He is saying he is sorry and promising to give up drinking. He confirmed he initiated kissing the girls and showed me on his hand how long it was for, 5 or 6 seconds. I have managed to stay calm until this morning. I told him I knew there was more to the story and wanted to know the truth. He walked out and said he didn't have time for this. Decision was made before this, but that just cements it. My mom phoned me last night crying. She was saying what a good man he is, and it was the alcohol that made him do it. That breaks my heart because my mom is my everything. She loves him like a son and said I should show forgiveness. One of our reasons for arranging a wedding quickly, we only got engaged last year, was because I wanted my dad to be there. He is 82. I know it's not a reason to get married. It just breaks my heart that he won't walk me down the aisle. As I had planned the wedding, I said last night to him that he is the one that needs to postpone the venues by today. I suggested the same date next year. Last night he told me he had canceled both venues by email yesterday. Update. I have had conversations with my now ex-partner every morning and night after work. I'm on leave this week, so I've had the whole day in a state of what I can only call despair. If he loved me like he said, he could have taken compassionate leave, time off. His reason for not is that I'm not willing to resolve the situation. I have this need to talk over the incident, analyze every detail, and point out the holes in his story, which he has had enough of. I joined Facebook yesterday to message the 3 females. He said go ahead, and then in shaky voice pleaded for me not to message the 19-year-old, as her boyfriend can get emotional. For context, the young girl and her boyfriend are working abroad this week, and he hasn't seen them since he kissed her. That was the only time he has showed empathy for anyone's emotions, and it was for her welfare. He doesn't care about mine, clearly. We spoke calmly last night about how hard the last year has been and what issues we had, which include infertility. We have always supported each other through everything. He said he didn't find me attractive when I was angry, and he only saw me at my worst, tired, due to our work life. Just spoke to him on the phone there and asked him to come home to finalize this. He said our conversation last night made him realize we didn't have a good relationship after all. I think I lived a fairy tale in my head because to me, we had a close to perfect relationship prior to this, despite the outside struggles. I must have been delusional. Update. My ex-partner came home from work yesterday after all. We talked for hours and could not get past the story about kissing 3 girls did not add up. I begged him to tell me the truth. Begged. He swore it was the truth and made his way to his parents' house, 2-hour drive away, to tell them the wedding was off. 5 minutes before he arrived there, I phoned him and he came clean. He had been lying. He admitted to kissing a 30-year-old girl that works in a different department multiple times through the night. No 3 girls, no 19-year-old involved at all. I immediately found this girl on social media and she confirmed it. Blamed it on alcohol, apologized, and said both were flirting with each other. He said he got caught in a huge web of lies and that I would think a long peck on the mouth was not cheating because he knew he had cheated by kissing this other girl. My mind is blown, but feels so much calmer now. I know that my gut was right about the original story not making sense. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Cancel the wedding. Not saying you have to break up today, but there is a lot that needs to be addressed before the 2 of you are ready to commit to marriage. No relationship can thrive with trust issues like these. I don't believe the universe sends us signs, but that was very lucky timing indeed. Comment 2. The remaining balance for the wedding is due to be paid tomorrow. The immediate issue. Regardless of whether he is lying, you don't seem ready to get married. As to whether you want to leave him, well, you now have trust issues. Do you want to rebuild the trust? Now for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been a week since my last post, and oh boy, do I have an update for you all. I've been on an emotional roller coaster, and just when I thought things couldn't get any more complicated, they did. After my last update, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story than my ex-partner was letting on. I remembered how he used to brag about his ability to smooth talk his way out of any situation. It was a trait that I admired at first, but now it was the very thing that was tearing us apart. I spent the next few days digging deeper. I reached out to some of his colleagues, the ones he had supposedly kissed, to get their side of the story. It was a bold move, but I needed answers. The first two women were just as shocked as I was. They confirmed that there were no kisses exchanged, just a friendly hug at most. My heart sank. The lies were unraveling before my eyes. Then came the confrontation with my ex-partner. I confronted him with the information I had gathered. He tried to deny it at first, but I could see the guilt in his eyes. He finally broke down and admitted that he had been unfaithful. Not with the 19-year-old, not with the colleague who wore unclothed lip gloss, but with someone else entirely. It turns out he had been seeing a 30-year-old woman from a different department at his work. They had been flirting for months, and it all came to a head that night at the Christmas party. The red lipstick stain? It was hers. The extended peck? It was a full-on makeout session in the back of a taxi. I was devastated. All this time, he had been living a double life, and I was none the wiser. The trust that we had built over 6 years was shattered in an instant. I thought back to all the times he had stayed late at work, all the business trips he took, and I couldn't help but wonder what else he had been lying about. But then, something unexpected happened. The woman he had been seeing reached out to me. She was remorseful and wanted to apologize for her part in the affair. She told me that she had ended things with him and that she never meant for anyone to get hurt. It was a small comfort, but it helped me see that I wasn't alone in this. As for my ex-partner, he's been trying to make amends. He's offered to pay for the canceled wedding venues and has been going to therapy to deal with his issues. But for me, it's too little, too late. I've realized that I deserve better than someone who lies and cheats. And here's the kicker, the subtle justice that I never saw coming. His parents, who he drove 2 hours to see, were furious with him. They had always seen me as the daughter they never had, and they couldn't believe what he had done. They've cut him off financially and emotionally until he gets his act together. It's not the kind of justice I expected, but it's justice nonetheless. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.